very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Dr. Anwar bin Alapiche from School of Management, University Science Malaysia. Today, I'm going to give my sharing on the topic of Waqf, the Islamic social instrument. I strongly believe that the terminology of Waqf is not alien or not new to all of you, especially to my brothers and sisters in Muslim. For my brother and sister are non-Muslim, maybe this is something new, or maybe you might heard the terminology of endowment. And today I'm going to give my sharing from the fundamental information of this Islamic social instrument. Lesson 1. Lesson 1 is about what is Waqf. It is important for us to understand the fundamental information about Waqf, especially the terminology itself. What does it mean, the definition on Waqf? Let's we see the definition of Waqf from the perspective of linguistic. Word Waqf is origin from the Arab world, which is referred to holding or confinement or stop. From the Sharia point of view, Waqf defined as holding a signed asset for the purpose of benefiting the beneficiary of an objective representing as philanthropic, and the usufruct or the income from the Waqf asset is continuously for the beneficiary and it is made for benevolent reason. Waqf into other country translation such as Waqf, Waqf, Waqif and Waqf. Waqf also known in different terms in other countries such as Habs in North and South Africa, and in Hebrew it is also known as Hods. Waqf refer as Islamic endowment that is used in Islamic law to detain the assigned asset, which can be classified into movable, immovable asset, and preserve the asset for the benefit of its beneficiary, and the usage of assets are according to the objective and prohibit if the usage does not align with the founder's objective. Now, let me hear or we see what are the definition of Waqf from the technical definition. As a Muslim, we always heard that the definition or any practical practice in the religion, we may have the reference to ensure that what we do, what we practice are according to the Quran and Hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the past, we do have popular school of thought, and the most popular school of thought that we always refer to any of our practice as comprised of Imam Shafi'i school of thought, we have Imam Hanbali school of thought, we have Imam Maliki school of thought, and last but not least in Imam Abu Hanifa. In terms of the technical definition of Waqf, Imam Shafi'i school of thought holds that similar definition to Imam Hanbali, which is Waqf is defining as confinement of beneficial property and disburses its revenue for Sharia compliant and philanthropic purposes. Imam Maliki school of thought define Waqf different from Imam Shafi'i school of thought in terms of the perpetual characteristic of the Waqf asset. This school of thought define Waqf as confining an own manfaat or utility, even a rented property, and devote its revenue, such as money, to a particular beneficiary for a certain period of time that's stipulated by the founder. Meanwhile, Imam Abu Hanifa defined Waqf as confining the asset and dedicates the usufruct of the asset to the beneficiary that entitled at the Waqf deeds. Waqf is a form of charity that has continuous charity features. Next, let's we hear about the definition of Waqf from the perspective of economics. In economic definition, Waqf is an act of allocating a particular asset that declared by founder on a permanent basis by protecting the principal from consumption while investing it a productive way that can generate revenue, benefit the beneficiary. The notion of Waqf is similar to the establishment of a non-profit business company whose life is infinite and involve investment for the purpose of generating future cash Waqf. Hence, Waqf system is an Islamic invented social economic system that aims to stimulate the economic growth of the society. This is done by creating everlasting productive investment and enhancing the welfare of poor Muslims through the revenue generated for the Waqf asset. Next, we are going to see what is the lesson. Especially, we need to understand the types and characteristics of Waqf. There are various types and characteristics of Waqf that makes the Waqf is unique compared to the other Islamic financial instrument. Next, we see what is the definition or what are the types of Waqf. Number one, we need to understand that the contribution of Waqf can be made from a different types of Waqf. For examples, we can have Waqf in form of religious Waqf, we can have Waqf in form of philanthropy Waqf, and last but not least, we can have Waqf can be donated for family Waqf. Religious Waqf is the oldest type of Waqf practice. This means that Waqf assets that declare are used to satisfy the religious needs of Muslim community. This type of development comprises of building mosques and land is used for graveyard. Furthermore, the founder will usually include some economic activities surrounding the mosque, which the revenue gained from the economic activity will be used to pay the salary of imam, bilal, and maintain the mosque. Waqf assets are prohibited to use for building non-Muslim worshipping place, such as building church and anything worshipping places that oppose to the command of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. The second Waqf can be fall under the philanthropic Waqf. Philanthropy has the largest portion of Waqf contribution, which the main aims is to provide basic necessity to the society. The activity that involve are focusing to benefiting the people at large, including non-Muslim people. This type of development comprises of education, health, care services, roads, bridge, dam, protection of animal and environment, and so on. The first philanthropic Waqf was started by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. For example, a man wrote a letter to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and wishes to give his 7 orchard to Prophet Muhammad SAW after his death. 4 years later, the man is dead, and Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, took hold the 7 orchard and declared them as Waqf, and the orchard benefit the poor and the needy people. Another example is Khalifa Umar radiallahu anh devoted his palm orchard as Waqf to support the needy, the wayfarer, for the sake of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Another set or form of Waqf is fall under family Waqf. Family Waqf has its own unique characteristic compared to previous type. This type is focusing on the usufruct of the Waqf asset, and the benefit are only for their family founders members, such as children and the following descendants. There are some examples of family Waqf that practiced by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, companion, which is Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, who made his house as family Waqf, which will benefit his own children and the following descendant. Another sample is Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas declared his house in Medina and Egypt as family Waqf, which it is only for his children and following descendants. Next, we look on the characteristic of Waqf. So this is one of the important points that we need to understand that makes Waqf is different to other Islamic social finance instrument. Number one is perpetuity. Waqf is fall under a perpetuity means that the perpetuity is the main characteristic of Waqf. This refers to the fixed asset that declared for Waqf purpose must be perpetual in nature. The declaration of Waqf asset is considered a legal binding Waqf and naturally affected which properties will benefit and exist until a day of judgment. For the donor, the perpetual characteristic is enable the donor to keep receiving reward from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala as long as the property are used and benefiting the beneficiary and public. The past study conducted by Quran says that Muslim Waqf is the act that enables someone to contribute his or her good deeds to the people continuously even though after the person dead. The second important characteristic is irrevocability. Second main characteristic of the Waqf is irrevocability. This means that the donor who declare his or her asset for Waqf purpose is permanent and the owner does not have any right to revert and declare the donated asset for his private use. The definition of Waqf clearly stated that Waqf indicates the owner has no right to use Waqf asset and his private purposes and the assets are belonging to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala which to benefit the society continuously. Past researcher Power 1999 says that Waqf asset has an immediate effect on the property which the donor do not has right to revoke. This means the ownership of the Waqf property is basically transferred to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala even though what is belonging on this earth and outside of the earth is belonging to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Laldin et al. 2006 says that agree that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is the owner of the property which has declared as Waqf and the donor has any right to revoke the agreement of Waqf. The third main characteristic of Waqf is inalienability. Inalienability is the third main characteristic of Waqf contribution. The concept of inalienability is embedded in one of the hadiths of Prophet Muhammad SAW. Gadiosi 1998 stated that any property that attached with inalienability characteristic is prohibited to involve with sale, mortgage, gift, collateral, inheritance, and any transaction of inalienability. Mashita 2006 says that Waqf property cannot use for sale, gift, or inheritance. She provided an example of an enactment of a state in Malaysia which stated that any Waqf that already been enforced cannot be sold or given as a gift by the Waqif or the donor or inherited by any person. This shows that the responsible authorities have to ensure the Waqf property is used based on the donor objective and benefit the beneficiary. Bonzer Kaf 2007 says that this characteristic enable Waqf property is used effectively and also to mitigate mishandling of the Waqf income. Hence, this characteristic help to protect the Waqf property and maintain its purpose to serve the benefit, the beneficiary and the public. Based on these 8 slides of explanation of Waqf, we can understand that the uniqueness of Waqf, which the asset which have been declared for as a Waqf has a widened benefit to the society. As we know that the civilization of Islam experienced proven evidence that Waqf has prospered during that era, which a lot of Muslims have confidence and trust by giving their asset as a Waqf, and they also strongly believe and confident the reward from Allah will be continuously benefiting their good deeds on this earth and hereafter. I hope that this first lesson will give an input in terms of the fundamental definition, economics, characteristic, type of Waqf. Next session will be explaining more detail about Waqf. Before we reach to the next lesson, we have an activity for the first lesson. Thank you very much.